Recording. Welcome, everybody. I am Jacqueline Ortiz, aka the Self-Love Diva, and the host of the Self-Love Diva show on how to create a self-confidence, self-love, and self-worth so you can attract that healthy, juicy relationship you've always wanted. And I'm also the author of Extraordinary You. And if you would like to find out more about me, you can at selflovediva.com. In the meantime, I am honored to be here with Lori Ann Davis. Good morning, Lori.
Good morning.
Good morning. Lori is such an accomplished life coach that I would like to read her bio so I don't miss anything out on her amazing accomplishments. Lori has a unique and passionate approach to love and relationships and believes that everybody deserves and can have the relationship of their dreams. Her mission is to provide you with the skills you need to have the unstoppable relationship you deserve. She's a master's degree in clinical psychology with over 30 years experience empowering individuals and couples to live richer, happier lives. She provides relationship coaching to people throughout the world. Her practice spans the spectrum from dating and singles to working through divorce to renewing long-term marriages. She is the author of Unmasking Secrets to Unstoppable Relationships, How to Find, Keep, and Renew Love and Passion in Your Life, 365 Ways to Ignite Her Love, and contributing author of Ready, Set, Date. She's also one of the coaches of the Radical Dating Show, radicaldating.com, and co-president of radicallove.com. And today we're going to talk about a fascinating topic. I'm so excited. We're going to talk about how to date as an alpha female. Lori, take it away.
So many women, I think, resonate with that in our society. We've got a lot of women that are successful in their careers. And they have wonderful careers, and they don't have such wonderful love lives sometimes. I spent over 25 years as a marriage and family therapist. So lots of time in the therapy world.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but you know what? Why don't we start with that? What motivated you? Tell me a little bit backstory about you, and because I know you accomplished so much. What motivated you to get into this field?
So I think I always wanted to work with people, and in college ended up with a couple of undergraduate degrees, which sort of led to my master's degree in counseling, and spent over 25 years dealing with doing family therapy, working with couples, did some individual therapy too, and I really liked that. And then I went through some changes myself. I had been married for 28 years. Wrote my first book on how to be as happy as I was married. 3 children, I have 3 daughters, but sometimes life has speed bumps along the way, I like to call them. Yeah. And I think that's what happened to me. So after 28 years, I became a single mom, and I homeschooled my children, and I was committed. 2 of my youngest 2 were still really little. And I was committed to staying home with them and being, a mom who stayed home with her kids and homeschooling them. Had moved to a whole different state. And so I really needed to do something different. I needed to do something different with my career, and found coaching and absolutely loved it. I think I did a lot of coaching even as a therapist. I was always the kind of therapist that said, let's move forward. Here's where you are, here's where you want to be. How do we get there? And without spending a whole lot of time, dragging up your childhood. And not to say that it's not appropriate sometime to look at where our beliefs came from. I'm sorry, I am still getting over this flu. And so I've still got this little bit of a cough. So I apologize if I sound funky.
But you sound great.
Okay, I don't to me. So, okay. But so part of it was the desire to create a career where I could manage my schedule. I could work from home and still help people, right? I still had that passion. And then what happened as I started along this journey of coaching, I was going through my own divorce recovery. I was going through my own figuring out how to date again after 28 years. Did I say 28 years? That's like a long time, to start over again. And so I was doing all this learning and all of this and was successful. I met my current husband and, was creating that new relationship again, another happy relationship. And I started running into all of these singles that were frustrated. And it was like this light bulb went off. I went, oh, I'm supposed to take everything I've been through, everything I've learned, and I'm supposed to use that in this next phase of my life to help people in a different way. So that was sort of how my career took the shift that it did. And so I'm about 8 years in, I think, almost 8 years in to this phase of my career. Absolutely loving it. Work with singles, still work with couples, some, but in a little bit of a different way. And I run across a lot of singles, men and women, but I run across a lot of single women that are successful in their careers, successful in life, but they can't seem to be successful in their relationships. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about a little bit today. We're going to talk a little bit about what is it about being, because I'm of the belief that we can have it all. I truly do
Absolutely.
believe that as women, we can have it all. And I think I do. I work at it, right? Like I practice what I preach. I'm always working on my marriage. I'm working on my relationship with my children. I'm working on my career. I'm growing. I'm expanding in my own life, right? So I know that you can have it, but I also know that it's not easy. I also know that it takes effort, and it takes the right kind of effort.
Yes.
And I also know that we're not taught how to do that in our world. We just really aren't. We are told as women we can have it all, and sometimes people like to give this advice. I don't know if you run into this, but they like to give this advice and it sounds great, but at the end of their talk, you listen and you go, well, that sounds really good. Now what the heck do I do? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more of a practical person. Like, you got to know what to do. If you don't know the steps to take and you don't know some of the nuts and bolts about it, I don't think that you're going to be successful. And so when I think about my daughters and I think about, all of the women that I have a passion for, they need to know what to do. They need to know those steps.
Yes.
And when we were talking about doing this interview, right, we talked a little bit about, I do something called Psych K, and you had mentioned that.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes, absolutely.
And so we won't go into a whole lot about what Psych K is, except just to say that it's a tool that I have that I use with clients that really helps people get to what are some of our unconscious beliefs that are holding us back. Because we think that we're going about life in a conscious state. And really, the research says that about 97% of our thoughts are coming from our unconscious. So we're walking around in life, living life, really coming from this programming that we have that came from, and then so that's time where some of my psychology degree comes in. It's this programming we have from when we were little. The first 7 years of our lives is where we absorb most of that programming. But in addition to that programming, we layer on top of that things people tell us, right? Like maybe you can't have it all. You can't have a successful career and a family and a loving relationship. You might be taught that men don't like alpha women. Men don't like strong, successful women.
Or women that make more money than them.
Yes, or women that make more money than them, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I work with clients, the first thing that happens is they start telling me their story about why they can't be successful in a relationship or why they can't find a man or a woman, and it has to do with where they live. It has to do with their circumstances. And I kind of, I don't laugh at them, but I'm smiling because I'm thinking, you don't realize that I hear this story from people from all over the world. Because at this point now, I've worked with people in different countries, different parts of the United States, different life circumstances. They're young, they're older, they're this, they're that. And they all tell me they can't find somebody because, and then they list their reasons. And it's like, so if you would listen to that, nobody could ever find anybody. Right? So it's not true. But we've got this programming, and some of it came from when we were little. Some of it came from the things that we hear in our society. Articles I read. When we first talked about me doing the summit, I was like up in arms because I had read this article about why men don't like successful women, and it was written by an expert in the field, and it was all this stuff that, as far as I'm concerned, isn't true. And I'm thinking women are going to read this and they're going to think, oh, well, I can't have a relationship because men don't want. And it was just reinforcing some of these beliefs that we have.
Which is so detrimental. Women feel then when they read something like this, like they have to sacrifice one or the other when it's not necessary. Like you said, we can have it all.
We can, so, and then they've had experiences. So what happens is we have these beliefs and then we go out in the world and our unconscious wants to be right, and we will look for evidence to make it right. So we have these beliefs, then we go out in the world and we go out with, and we're contributing to the results we're getting because of the beliefs, not on purpose, not intentionally, but we're putting stuff out there. We want to be right. And then we have that experience. And then we say, see, I'm right. Men don't want to date successful women, or whatever it is, the story that we're telling. We see evidence, we find evidence of it, and then we go, see, it's true. So I'm just passionate about dispelling some of those beliefs and saying that that's not true. And not only have I been around for 30 plus years, I'm stopping at that really, because it's something that really makes you start to look old, And I had children later in life, and so I still feel really young. But I've been around a long time working with people. And I've met a lot of folks. I run a really big singles group here in Charlotte, and I get to talk to lots of people. And I've done more research of this than most people would want to do. It floats my boat. I like doing all that research. You do too, right? We're in this field. But, we've done more research than most people have. So I want to use some of this time to dispel some of those beliefs and say, yes, you can be successful and have love. But there might be some things you might need to change a little, some tweaks you might need to make.
All right. So what are the tweaks? I'm ready to tweak.
But we're going to talk about why those are good for you and why they're good for you, not just the relationship. But first of all, can we talk about a few of the myths?
Absolutely. Let's go for it.
Okay. So you want to give me one? You want to give me one you've heard, or you want me to go?
Some of the myth is that if I'm an alpha female, I must be bitchy or high maintenance.
Right. Yes. And so what I will tell you is that if you're bitchy and high maintenance, right, men don't like that. They don't. So that's not a myth, but that doesn't have anything to do with being successful. That has to be doing like you probably don't like somebody that's bitchy and high maintenance, right? So
absolutely.
We do have to look in the mirror, and being single is the perfect time to look in the mirror and say, here's what I want. Here's the relationship I want. Now, am I showing up every single day as often as I possibly can? Because none of us are perfect. I did this when I was single. I would think about, because I was going through a little bit of a tough time in my life. It was tough learning to be single after all of those years and being so happy in a relationship. And that was a tough adjustment for me. And on days I was having a bad day, I would think, so am I showing up in a way that this man that I wanted another relationship, I wanted to be in love again, I wanted another great relationship. Am I showing up in a way that he's going to want me, or that I would want him to see me, right? Not even whether he would want me. Do I want him to see me, even though he didn't exist yet? And if the answer was no, I got myself together, right? Like, what do I do to, and it really helped me, I think, to get over it faster. So it's a perfect time for us to look in the mirror and say, are there some things about us that maybe we don't like? We all have things about us that we could shift, that we can improve. So if we're walking around being bitchy, right, and demanding, well, then we need to work on that, because nobody, probably that we want at least, is going to want to be around that. So I don't know that that's a myth, but I don't think it has anything to do with being successful in your career, right? That has to do with your personality and maybe.
Exactly. It doesn't have to do with being alpha female. You could be a strong, powerful woman. You don't have to be bitchy. And
no.
Just like you could have any type of personality, like you said, it doesn't have to be alpha female. That could be bitchy. It could be anybody. Yes. It's all about how you come across and how you portray yourself.
So there's another myth that says men aren't attracted to confident women. And that's not true at all. Men are so attracted to confident women. Confidence and passion for life is super sexy, and men are really attracted to that. what they're not attracted to, that sometimes can go hand in hand with that, or can be a version of that, is controlling. So men are not attracted to women that are going to try to control them and tell them what to do and how to be. And I've run into women that way, women that go on a date and want to tell the guy what he's done wrong, how he's dressing wrong, all the things he's doing. So to me, there's a difference. Confidence is internal, and confidence is this inner strength that doesn't need to tell anybody else what to do. It doesn't need to try to control people, right? If you're trying to control people and you think that you've got inner confidence, you're mistaken, right? If you're trying to control somebody else, there's some insecurities in there that you're trying to kind of compensate for, really, if you're trying to be controlling. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So there's a difference, I believe, between confidence and egotistical. I mean, confidence is inner power, inner strength, and self-love, versus egotistical is lack of self-love, that you need to prove yourself because you don't love yourself enough.
Exactly. Yes. So that's kind of where that myth can come in, right? Where we can say, well, men don't like controlling women. Well, they don't like controlling women. They love women that are self-confident, that are in charge of their own happiness, right? That
Absolutely.
they love, that's attractive for everybody. So it's going to attract other people. It's going to help with your business. It's going to help with your love life. It's going to help with everything else. Another myth sometimes is that whole idea about softness. So, and that is where I think that's where there's a learning curve, where women, those alpha women, sometimes don't allow themselves to expose that softer, more vulnerable side of themselves. And that can be a barrier to building relationships, to building love. So, men, even though we have this belief sometimes that they're going to be attracted to our looks, physical, and that might be an initial attraction, but that's not an attraction that keeps them attracted. What keeps them attracted to us is that heart-to-heart connection, that emotional connection. And men don't know that that's what keeps them attracted a lot of times, right? That's a secret.
Yeah.
But it is. And so sometimes for alpha women, they feel like they can't be vulnerable. And maybe at work they can't, right? And this is where sometimes being successful at work can hinder you from having a successful love relationship, because you got to make a shift. You really do. So got it. If you're in corporate America or you're this high-powered person, you might not be able to be vulnerable and show emotion and be open. I got it. You've got to be able to shift gears though. And when you're in relationship mode and you're dating, you need to be able to let that guard down. You need to be able to be soft, to be open, to be vulnerable. Make that connection with the other person. Be interested in them. Want to know about them. Share a little bit about you on a little bit of a deeper level. And that doesn't mean you have to bare your soul, right, on the first or second date. Actually, that can turn people away. Mm-hmm. But we got to open up a little, and we've got to be a little softer. And really, that's an advantage for you as a woman. So I'll tell you just really quickly a little bit of a story about me. So after being a single mom for a little bit, when my husband, I was doing everything, right? I'm starting this new career. I'm still taking care of my children. I'm homeschooling them. I'm learning how to take care of the house and live in the house by myself, as I was dating my current husband. A lot of shifts, so there was a lot of things I had to be in charge of and in control of. And I'm pretty good about doing that when I need to be. But I'd much prefer to be in touch with my feminine energy. I'd much prefer to be, in touch with that. So when my husband first started coming around and spending time with us, got to the point where he would come to our house and he would come over, and then when he moved in with us, especially, it was a shift for me because I was so used to doing everything myself that I needed to make that shift and really allow him to take over some things and do some things. And when he would ask if he could do something, I needed to show up in that space of that softness, that being more vulnerable, allowing him to serve us, right? And there was a little bit of a reminding myself to not just do everything, because I was used to doing that. And that comes up a lot when I'm talking to women that have been single a long time. They're like, well, but I'm so used to
Yes.
taking over and doing everything. You really do have to allow the guy to show up in his masculine energy. But when you do that, you get to just release some of the stuff. You get to go, "Phew, I don't have to be in charge of everything, right? I don't
And
have."
isn't that wonderful that you can be able to be a strong alpha, powerful, confident woman and not believe or think the subconscious belief that it's a weakness to show vulnerability or weakness to let someone take over to some extent. It goes hand in hand. It's just a synergy where you can be able to compromise and work together and not see as a weakness.
Right. And it, as women, most of us have, and this is kind of a whole nother talk, so we won't go too far into it, but most of us have as our core energy, feminine energy. Now we are in masculine doing energy when we're at work, maybe, unless you do what we do, but all day long, and you can do that. But we need that balance of spending time in that feminine energy, of relaxing, not doing, just being. And so we need to do that for ourselves, by spending time in nature and yoga and reading and meditating and whatever, like all of those kind of creative things that we need to do, whether we're in a relationship or not. But when we're in a relationship, we need to spend time just letting go of the control and just being with our partner. And that's a shift that sometimes women have to learn to make. And I spend a lot of time sometimes helping women learn to make that shift and learn to see that there's still power there. It doesn't mean that you let somebody walk all over you. It doesn't mean that you can't still be strong. It means that you're balancing your energy and you're allowing that openness to make that heart connection so that the other person connect with you and you can spend time together in that space.
Awesome.
And so it really is not trying to control everything and just relaxing some. And that's good for you. If you're going to live longer, your stress is going to go down. You're going to be happier. You're going to be healthier. So it's okay to be in that softness. Doesn't mean you don't have any say so.
Right. And you know what? It's amazing how when you shift that and reframe from being alpha female, always having to be tough, which is wonderful, and being confident, but also be able to be more playful and joyful and grateful. And when you live in that energy, not only do you attract amazing, high quality men and people into your life, but you also get to enjoy life.
Yes, and that was actually perfect. That was the next space I was going to go into. So,
oops, sorry.
oh no, it was the perfect introduction to it, right? Is
Go for
that
it.
the other thing that sometimes strong women have to learn to do is on dates to not make dates an interview, to not
Yes.
be in that accomplishing mode, to not be in that business mode, but to put all of that aside, tap into that space of being happy, being fun, being playful, being passionate about life, being flirty, and not overly so, not in a flirty way that works for you, according to your personality, but men are really attracted to that. And you're going to have a lot more fun on dates, and even once you're in the relationship, to me, the relationship is a space where you can let go of all the other stuff that you need to do in life. And you can really just spend some time having fun, relaxing, connecting. It's de-stressing, which probably isn't a word, but really you can reduce a lot of your stress when you're in relationship mode if you'll use the time with either dating or once you have a partner with that partner to have fun, right? And to make it playful and to make it fun. And so again, that's good for you. It's a balance for you. It's going to attract a partner. It's going to keep a partner. It's a win-win for everybody.
So what I'm hearing from you is basically as an alpha female dating, it's not about shifting into someone that you think they want to be, but be a better, more vulnerable, softer side of the authentic you and show up that way. Because if we start faking, pretending we're someone we're not, it's going to show up and it's going to push them away. But if we just show up as ourselves and feel confident about it and step into our own power without having to be controlling, correct? Or without having to push.
Yes. And then the one other thing that I wanted to touch on.
Yes,
really
please go
is
for it.
this whole myth about needing a man, right? Because I've heard so many women go, well, I don't need a man. but they do it with this attitude. And it's like,
Yes.
well, nobody's going to date you if that's the attitude you have about men, right? So we also have to tap into ourselves and say, well, what do I need? Because it's okay. It doesn't mean you're not okay without a relationship, but it is okay to want, to desire, to need. To some extent, there are things that you can have in a relationship that you can't have without it. That's the part that you need, right? And it's okay to have that. Need doesn't mean needy. It doesn't
May I
mean,
say it is maybe it's they can shift it to not maybe needing and clingy like I used to be after my 20-year marriage, but instead of being needing and clingy, someone to complement your life.
yes. So there's this whole myth about, well, I don't need. Well,
Hmm.
I would like you to almost take that word and say, well, maybe I do, but I need this much from somebody. And it's okay to need that. That's not needy. That's desiring this person in my life. It's saying, I appreciate what you add and I want you to be there. And so watching that attitude, because we need to, the first thing I think I would ask women that say, well, they're alpha women is, do you like men? Do you like them? If you don't, you're not going to have a relationship. So let's figure out, what do you like? What do you want them to add to your life? What
Yes.
role do you want them to play? And then go out going, this is great, right? Because most men do not want to be the be all and end all of our lives. Like, that's too much pressure for them. They
Brilliant.
want us to
Yes.
be happy and strong and in charge of our own lives. And they want us to desire them as a piece of that. And when we can get that balance and feel good about envisioning that, and then we bring that out into the world in a positive, loving, calm, happy way, right? That's where the magic happens. And that's when you start
Lori,
attracting the right men.
that is brilliant. That's amazing. That's absolutely the case. Awesome. Very, very intuitive. You hit the nail on the head. Final question, because unfortunately we're almost done.
Yes.
But if you were giving advice to women, our listeners, our viewers who are thinking what doable actionable steps they could take for the next 24, 48 hours to get in tune with the alpha female and shift that and reframe the way they think, what would be some doable actionable steps?
Find something to do where you're out of your head and
Mm.
into your body. So tapping into that, and it could be a hot bath, it could be a shower, it could be yoga, it could be music that you listen to or dance, but something that gets you into your body and helps you to feel feminine and helps you to feel good about that femininity and being a woman and being a little softer and being a little more open and vulnerable. And you can't do that in your head. You got to be grounded into your body in some way to make that shift from doing to being. And it has to happen in the body.
That's awesome. So I'm assuming you would suggest they do that within 24 to 48 hours, like I suggested. But in addition, right before dates or right before they're going to go on to happy hour, do something to ground themselves, to make them shift that energy.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Awesome. I know you have been very generous in offering gifts to our viewers. Could you expand on some of those gifts, please?
Yes, I have a wonderful, it's an MP3 that I did with a gentleman. So it's talking about the differences, understanding the differences between men and women, and learning to appreciate them and use them in a way to create better relationships. And it's a really fun kind of conversation between me and this gentleman. He's the head of a radio station, and we used to have a show together, and we have great chemistry together. And so we are joking, but giving lots of great information from a male and a female's perspective about how men and women can understand each other and work together to create better relationships. And so that is the giveaway.
Well, thank you so much. That's awesome. And I know our viewers are fascinated, especially alpha females, but all types of women and men are fascinated by the topic today and your experience. If they would like to learn more about you, how would that be the case?
They can go to my website, which is my name, LoriAnnDavis.com. There's even a link on there to schedule, if you'd like to schedule like a free strategy session. I've got blogs, all 3 of my books are on the website. So lots of information on the website for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been so enlightening and brilliant information, strategies, and tidbits and things that we could all take away. So I am so grateful for you imparting all your wisdom today. Thank you, Lori. Yeah. For all the viewers, thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, and much blessing. Love you guys. Bye. Thank you so much, Lori. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.